BKT United Rugby Championship returned to our screens this weekend as the 2024 Guinness Six Nations entered its final rest week. Getting things underway was a clash between Italian side Zebra Parma and reigning champions Munster Rugby in Cork. For the Italians, they would be chasing a second win of the campaign, while Munster were looking to build on their impressive victory over the Scarlets in round 10 and crucially close the gap on the top four sides of the table. Munster would come out of the blocks quickly, with double World Cup winner Archie Snyman setting up highly touted back row Ruan Quinn for the first try of the evening. Quinn would go on to score 2 tries on the evening to cap off a highly impressive outing in what was just his third first-team appearance of the season. Elsewhere, fullback Mike Haley, who like Snyman has recently returned from a long injury layoff, would put in a monster performance with 178 metres gained and a try in the 10th minute to cap it all off. The Italians would not give up, however, and despite falling behind early, showed incredible spirit to claim a 4-try bonus point, with winger Simone Gessi and fullback Geronimo Priscinelli leading the way. The fullback would score the crucial bonus point try in the 75th minute as he pounced on a Munster mistake in the Zebra half. From here, he would show exceptional footballing skills to kick the ball forward before outpacing the Munster defence to dive over and score. For Munster, the bonus point catapults them back into contention as they now sit in 6th position. Graham Rowntree and his coaching staff will, however, have concerns around their inability to put in a full 80-minute performance, with lapses in defensive concentration being their biggest weakness in the season so far. Whilst Munster and Zebra were playing, Edinburgh and Ospreys were playing the other Friday evening clash. Promising young fly half Dan Edwards got Toby Booth's men off to the perfect start as he slotted an early penalty. Edinburgh would reply soon after with what will surely be a finalist for a try of the season, as number 8 Bill Matta burst through the Ospreys' defence from a line-out. The Fijian would link up with centre Matt Curry, who in turn would find an on-rushing Hamish Watson, with the back row diving over for Edinburgh's opening try of the evening. The Ospreys would score 2 tries in the second half, as hooker Sam Parry and back row Morgan Morris each crossed the whitewash. It wouldn't be enough, however, as fly half Ben Healy slotted 4 penalties and a conversion to see Edinburgh home. The fly half has made a huge impact for Edinburgh since joining from Munster in the off-season and will be crucial to the Scottish side's chances this season, with his long-range goal-kicking being a real weapon. Next up was the first of 2 South African derbies, as the Hollywood Bet Sharks travelled to Johannesburg to take on the Emirates Lions. This season has been a disappointing one for the Sharks, who have managed just a single win so far. Saturday would prove to be no respite as the Lions cruised to a dominant bonus point win in front of their home fans. Running their visitors ragged from the off, the Lions ran in 3 early tries as scrum half Senele Nohamba continued his fine form, pulling off an outlandish sidestep to score for the opening try of the match. Flanker JC Pretorius would score next for the Lions as number 8 Frankie Horn plucked a brilliant crossfield kick before popping the ball back infield to his back row buddy. 9 minutes later, Quan Horn would go over in the left-hand corner for the Lions' third to bring the bonus point within touching distance. The Sharks would grab their lone try of the match as fly half Sia Mazuku made a great break before passing to Edwin Cater, who crossed the line in the 27th minute. From here, the match would endure an extra long half-time break as inclement weather gripped the area, with torrential rain and spells of thunder and lightning making the match unplayable. When the action did return, it would take over 20 minutes for the first score of the half as replacement tight head Conrad van Vuren barged over before fellow replacements Eric Cronje and Harnu Sirgel put an exclamation point on the win for the Lions. For the Sharks, the biggest takeaway was an incident between captain Bongi Mbanambi and referee Amy Barrett-Theron, with the hooker getting on the wrong side of the referee, who handled the situation with exceptionally calm and clear communication. Next up was a return to the Northern Hemisphere as Benetton and the Glasgow Warriors took on what was a top-of-the-table clash, with the second-place Warriors travelling to Treviso to face the third-place Benetton. Both sides were depleted due to being bulk suppliers for their national teams in the Six Nations, but with the stakes so high there was still little to separate between the two sides. But it was the Warriors who struck when the opportunities presented themselves. First up was hooker Johnny Matthews, who continued his fine try-scoring run in the 7th minute, benefiting from an overthrown Benetton lineout. The hooker simply plucked the ball from the air and fell over the line unchallenged in what was a very disappointing outcome for the Italians. Next up, centres Stafford McDowell and Tom Jordan would score the other 2 tries of the evening, with McDowell making a real impact. McDowell's try would come from another Benetton error as the ball bounced around in the backfield with nobody able to claim it in the wet conditions. Santi Cordero would kick kick ahead before McDowell pounced on the ball to get the Warriors' second try. Having another hand in the try, McDowell would set up Tom Jordan for his next score. McDowell's powerful burst would break straight through the Benetton defensive line. From here, he would find his inside centre with an easy pop pass that saw the New Zealander go in under the post for what would be the final try of the day. Keeping the Italians in touch throughout the match was fullback Jacob Umaga, who kicked 3 penalties on the day. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be quite enough for Marco Bortolome's side, who will find this loss a tough pill to swallow as they drop all the way back to 8th position on the table, whilst the Warriors kept within touching distance of table toppers Leinster and joint on points with the Vodacom Bulls in 2nd position on the log. Next up was South Africa's traditional North vs South derby, which saw the DHL Stormers travel to Pretoria to face the Vodacom Bulls. Playing in front of a sold-out Loftus Versfeld crowd of 55,000, the Bulls were looking to overturn the Stormers, having lost their last 7 matches against the Cape Town side. As the old adage goes, good things come to those who wait, and the Bulls will be savouring their dominant 40-22 victory. The match itself would see a delayed kickoff as the extreme weather that disrupted the Lions and Sharks match earlier in the day also gripped the fixture in Pretoria. 2 tries to hooker Johan Grobler and a further tries to winger Kanan Moody and scrum half Ambrose Papier secured a bonus point win for Jake White's side. For the Stormers, they would get 3 of their own as Ben Loader, Evan Ruas and Andre Hugo Fenter each crossed the whitewash, but this would not be enough to secure any points from the fixture. The loss sees the 2022 champions drop out of the top 8 whilst the Bulls sit comfortably in 2nd place on the log. From the summer storms of Gauteng to the winter afternoon in the west of Ireland, Connacht hosted the Scarlets in Galway in the next fixture. For the Irish province, a win would push them back into the top 8 and keep them in with a realistic shot of a top 4 place as the season progresses. Coming out hot, Pete Wilkins' side would score 2 tries inside 10 minutes as they took firm control of the fixture. Scrum half Caelan Blade would race away for the first score before hooker Owen de Butler scored 4 minutes later. Number 8, Sean Jansen, would score Connacht's 3rd try in the 22nd minute. Dragging his team back into the match, scrum half Ethan Jones would hot step his way to a try in the 27th minute, which gave the Welsh outfit their first foothold in the game. Connacht would need to do some work for their bonus point, but it would eventually come in the 57th minute as Jansen claimed his 2nd try on the afternoon. Outside of JJ Hanrahan's conversion, Jansen's try would be the final score of the afternoon as the 2 sides struggled to make any inroads in the attacking game. Next up, crossing the Irish Sea, Leinster would travel to Cardiff to face the Welsh capital side in their home ground. In what was a far closer fixture than the final score would indicate, Leinster would prevail 33-20. Soaking up early pressure, Leinster would pounce with 2 clinically taken tries to Rob Russell and Max Deegan, with Ross Byrne converting Deegan's try to make a 12-0 lead. The Dubliners wouldn't have things all their own way, however, as Cardiff pushed them to their limits and took the lead just before half-time. 2 Rhys Carey tries in the 34th and 39th minute combined, with 1 conversion and a penalty from the boot of Tinas de Beer, had the hosts in control of what would have been a major upset heading into half-time. As they've done so many times in the past, Leinster would regroup at half-time and blitz their hosts to score 3 tries, 2 of which came from replacement loosehead prop Michael Mill and the other from the replacement hooker John McKee. Cardiff would have the final say, however, as winger Aled Summerhill would cross the line in the 74th minute to set up a chance at 1 and possibly 2 losing bonus points, if not a win. It was not to be for the Welsh outfit in the end, who left with 0 points but proved that they are starting to find real squad depth in what is a very promising side for the region. Closing out round 11 was a clash between 2 sides in a state of flux. Ulster Rugby entered their first clash since head coach Dan McFarland was relieved of his duties and quite frankly looked freed of the pressure that had previously been restricting them. Scoring 7 tries in the evening, Ulster's famed attacking prowess seemed reinvigorated. Starting the run of tries was fullback Will Addison, who gathered a clever kick from fly half Billy Burns to go over in the right-hand corner. The Dragons would respond a few minutes later as James Benjamin was on the end of a well-set maul by the Dragons, who showed where Ulster's key weakness lay as they went directly at their host through the maul. Michael Lowry, playing on the left wing, would score the first of his 2 tries in the 17th minute. Lowry showed just why so many Irish rugby fans are excited about his potential as a do-it-all attacking threat. Next up, second row, Harry Sheridan bashed over the line from close range in the 29th minute in what was an old-school forwards try from the Ulster pack. Claiming his second in the 32nd minute, Larry took a well-executed offload from Jude Postlewaite to dive over the line for Ulster's bonus point score. Ulster's back row would score their 3 tries of the second half, as Dave McCann scored twice, with Nick Timoney scoring one of his own. The Dragons would score 2 more forward dominant tries as Matthew Screech went over from close range before replacement hooker Brodie Coughlin scored on the back of a maul. The loss keeps the Dragons second from bottom ahead of only the Sharks, whilst Ulster's win catapults them into 5th position and tied on points with both Munster and Edinburgh for 4th position on the table. The URC will now take a 2-week break as the Guinness Six Nations returns for its final 2 rounds. Rugby fans can catch all of the URC live and exclusively on FloRugby, as well as the Investec Champions Cup, EPCR Challenge Cup and Super Rugby competitions.